Hello, and yes, we are going to continue forming the body. So what we're going to do next, we are going to create the eye, and we're going to set it up in such a way that it will be animate. You can animate it. So just to kind of demonstrate, I'm going to create a. We're going to do it in the front view. Nice sphere. Now, the issue I have in my sphere is that, it's quite round, so if I stick it out to fit, it just looks unnatural. It doesn't look good. To make this easy for me to judge and to know how it works and to demonstrate, I'm going to give it a new material. I'm going to give it render, I'm going to give it a new shiny material, this fog material. So you can see it's nice and shiny. And with this material selected, we are going to go fog, call this I_material 1. And in the attribute editor, you can see with colors, we can make it dark and make it lighter. I'm going to pick the little checkered box here, and what that brings up is any moment the create render node, and it basically means that you can add all kinds of things to it. You can add a Photoshop file, you can add just a file, you can put a checkered pattern on, you can do all kinds of things. You can add cloud, water, so you can have a real mess around and just see what these bring. But what I really want is this one, the ramp tool. It will make sense. So put on ramp there. Now if I rotate the ball, you can see we have this interesting white to black thing happening. You might have different colors if you have a spare one, so I'm just going to create one. If you have an extra one, we could get away with 3, so actually for this demonstration I'll put in a third. So we have, for me, I have white. If you don't have the color, you can just select the ball at the top and just change the color. So for this one, I'm going to make this one kind of an eye color, so I'm going to try and make a browny, dark brown. There we go. So I've got black in the wrong place and white in the wrong place, but the brown's kind of in the right place. So you can grab these and move around. Just be careful not to click the box at the bottom, because if you do that, there you go, you've deleted. You can always click and bring it back. It just means having to make that again. So you can just grab it by the top and just move things around. Now I'm going to bring black and brown a lot closer together. Now you can see how it's affecting here. If you don't, you need to make sure that this textured box is selected. Okay, but you probably have it selected anyway, so we can see the guide layer in the background. So I'll just bring this in and maybe soften it up a bit. This acting as my pupil. There you go. So we have base color. I might make the brown a bit lighter, just so. There we go. Now, at the moment, yes, our eye is there. I'm actually going to call this ramp I_texture 1. So I might change it later. So what we're going to do, just going to show you. Now if I were to, you could say, oh, you can just squish it down, that will solve the issue. Okay, I could squish it down like so, flatten it a bit and change the shape slightly, but there is one issue with that. If I were to animate this later and try and rotate the eye, you can see it doesn't rotate like an eye anymore. It just is a flat object. There is a way around this, which I absolutely love, and really handy if you're doing really odd eye shapes. If you want to avoid stuff like this, it's probably good to just create a character that has round eyes or has that type of design. So that's one way to go around it. but if you can't, there is always this. So I'm just going to make this on object mode. Pressing Q, by the way, just to turn off, to make it a normal selecting tool. Now we want to change the menu setup because we need a deformer, and they're usually found in the animation group. So click animation, and we want to create a deformer, and lattice, we don't click on it, we need to go into the settings. So we click the little box just to make sure that we have it all set on 2s here, that it's grouped them together. So use local mode, yep, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, yes, yes. Yeah, if we had it on 5 there, it could have created a lot of subdivisions. Not a good thing. So I'm gonna hit create, and it's created this box around us, around the eye. And I'm gonna scale that box in a bit. And you may be thinking, what? This is no different to what you did before. You just made a box do it instead of doing it on the eye. Ah, the contraire. Now, if I click on the eye and rotate it, look at that. It is a really weird thing, because if I make the box, no matter how flat I make the box, the eye moves like an eye now, but it's still a flat shape. It's really, it's cool and weird at the same time, so that's really good. Now, the only issue of using this is that you have to be really careful with what you click. So I want to put these together in a group, so I find it so much easier to go into the outliner where we can see what's what and where things are. To see the outliner, you can click on that icon there where we have perspective and outliner, but I sometimes like to have it as a separate window. We go to window, and there it is, outliner. And here we go, we can see all the weird things we're doing. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's probably for my ear. Yeah, I'm gonna... Now this is actually good examples. When you transform and do things, it will create these transformation nodes, and sometimes by deleting them, you see my ear suddenly disappeared. So just using undo, Control Z to bring that back, and it can cause problems later. So to get rid of those, I find the best way is to select it and modify or edit. There we go. So it's deleted the history. So if we delete all by type, it would have deleted the new lattice. So we've got this sphere here, and we've got this group where we have these deformers. Now I'm going to actually rename this eye. And what we're going to do, I'm going to, using my middle mouse button with it selected, so you just use your, just click on it normally. My middle mouse button, I'm going to hold it down, and you can see it's all selected extra, and I'm going to drag it down, still holding my mouse button, and just make sure that the line is going, you can either put it into the group like that or just do a line there, it does the same thing. Let go, and it's moved. And that's how you can group things together or move things or snap things together. So that's another way of parenting, which we will go more into later. So it is a good way. Also, I'm going to take this time to rename this head and the cylinder body. It's always good to know what things are. So you can see these are my guides, and we also have the different default cameras, which we can see there. We don't have to show them, we can unshow them, but yeah, it's always good to know what's there. So I'm going to rename this group the left eye. There we go. So that way I know what everything is. Okay, so just quickly renamed everything, so make sure you have that base in there. We need that. So the left eye group selected, I'm going to pull this in. And just place, try to get the eye looking right. Well, looking as though it's correct. So is it best to pull the eye out? There we go, let T's points. Yeah, I can do things. I can just morph the shape just ever so slightly. Don't want to do it too much, just... There we go. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to bring my eye back into there because I don't think that made a difference. So now the next bit is to actually shape the eye slightly and get it to fit. Now, one way of doing this is difficult sometimes because you want to be able to see how the eye pinches and add those little bit of details and get it to look like an eye. To really see how that looks, especially in the smooth look, you can kind of get away in this view. However, I prefer to assign a shiny material to get it so it's easy to see. It'll make sense when you see it. So click on the model, the head, and I'm going to pick... I'm going to pick... Hopefully they look the same. I think I picked the extra shiny one. So there we go, I'm going to pick this one. Should I pick a bin? I'm going to pick that one, farm material. You can see they made it a little look shiny, so I'm just going to call this one test material. There you go. And one thing you can see here is that the, with the ear, now whenever you glue things together you get this horrible harsh edge to things, and it took me ages to figure it out until I found one little button that does it very quickly. So I'm going to click this guy, and going back into polygons, polygon menu set, we've got the norms. The norms, as I said before, control how light is reflected. So I'm going to click this guy, like average, so I'm just click on this and average the norms. Let's see if that's... It's done something. Aha! Aha, aha! Click enough buttons and something will work. There we go, we can see it's just... So can I soften them? There we go, so it looks all grouped together. Right, so we've got to start morphing the eye. Actually, I'm gonna try and select my eye group. With the eye selected, instead of having to go to the outliner, I'm just gonna hold up on my keyboard just to make sure you can see result down there that I've got the left eye selected, which is the name of the group. So I can just pull this forward a bit so it sits better on the eye here. Put too much. Yeah, there's fine. That's good. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this group. So I'm going to go to my channel box and remember these layers. We've got this guy. Don't think he does anything. I'm going to delete that. There's a useless layer. Delete it. I'm going to, with the group selected, I'm going to click this ball paper light symbol. Just to, what that does, it looks at what you've selected and says, oh, you want to assign this to a layer automatically instead of right clicking and doing it the long way. So double clicking, I'm going to call this eye, and I'm going to hit the blank box here just till it goes to R, which means I cannot click on it, which would be very, very handy. And so now, to the case of using a few tools just to get the eye working. So, for instance, if I go to vertice here, I'm going to put on my soft select, just bring down the eye, just getting it to fit. See, I'm just tweaking it enough to fit here. I'm also going to be using another tool to push things around. Now this one you haven't seen yet, so I'm going to have to explain it. Best way to explain is to create a different object to mess around with. It's always good to basically test things and not be afraid to use them. So just create a sphere to demonstrate. Make sure you have your toolbox open or your tool settings. If you don't, there's this one here to turn it off and on. Always remember what I call the three musketeers. I usually have them on all the time unless space is an issue. So I think mostly I'll just turn off the tool one. So with this one selected, go into your polygon menu set and you should see this weird little guy. He's a sculpt geometry tool. Basically looks like a blanket being pinched and pulled up. So with this guy, we can use it to sculpt things. So with the first operation selected, this is the push one, so I can push into the shape. You can see, push it in like so. We've got the next one, which is pull. I use this one quite often. This one, now I switch between these two. This one here is smooth, so it'll smooth. You can see it manipulate, so it kind of smooths it down. This one is relax, where it relaxes the edges. So if they're too crunched up and tense, it just relaxes the form a bit without changing the actual shape you've created. So that you can see this one doesn't change as much as the smooth one, but it just kind of relaxes the edges around that form. I don't use pinch, that doesn't do much. This one, slide, I guess it moves things slightly. You see that? Don't use that one much either. This one's really handy if you've made a huge mistake, you think, oh, I hate that change, you can rub it out. So I can just grab this guy and just rub out, and it will return the sphere back into its default position. So there you go. So those are my absolute handy tools. One thing as well to be aware of is changing the settings. If I hold select and if I click flood with this shape selected, it will just flood it like so. So that's kind of handy if you want to affect the entire mesh, but not so much if you don't. So beware of that flood button. Also, you can change the opacity on your brush, so I can bring it down, and also in the profile just soften it so that it's on it, so I can just bring it in. You can see it's a lot softer. I can even hold B down and change the size of my brush just like with soft select and have that more control. It has an arrow just to indicate where it's pushing to. I can make it bigger again. And with this one, where it's no softness, it's just all or nothing. This one again, you can see I'm kind of stroking it in, so there we go. So that's how I'd use that tool, and I'm going to use it quite a lot on this model. So what I'm going to do, just so I don't bore you talking so much, I am going to speed this up. You see how I use the tool, so you know how to use it yourselves. Hello, and yet again bringing another video to an abrupt end. There's so much in this video that covers how to do the eye using so many tools that I think it's all relevant to give you the full experience in how to do things. So again, this one's going to be an exclusive eye video. Hopefully you like, and if you have any comments, please leave them down below, and hopefully you enjoy.